So here's a question that hit me reading Circle's blog last December. The company that issues USDC just signed an agreement to acquire the team behind Axelar network, right? 80 connected blockchains, 5 years of cross-chain infrastructure, bought by the second largest stablecoin issuer in the world. And the thing is, the founders who built it didn't come from DeFi. They came from MIT. They came from Algorand. One of them literally co-authored the signature standard Ethereum 2.0 uses today. So look, this isn't another bridge story. This is academic cryptography meeting institutional finance, and what happens when those two finally collide. So let me introduce you to the two people behind this. The CEO of Interop Labs is Sergey Gorbunov, and his story, it's not your typical crypto founder story. He did his bachelor's and master's at the University of Toronto. Then he went to MIT for his PhD and finished in 2015. His thesis was on lattice-based cryptography, designing tools for cloud computing. And here's the thing, that thesis won the Sprouse Prize, which is the award for best PhD thesis in computer science at MIT that year. After MIT, he became an assistant professor at the University of Waterloo. But the real connection is what came next. He joined Algorand as their chief cryptographer. That's Silvio Micali's project, and Sergey was responsible for designing the cryptographic core of the platform. Including this, he co-authored the BLS signature standard, the exact one Ethereum 2.0 uses today. He's an IETF standards author. So the infrastructure of modern proof of stake quietly runs on his work. Then there's his co-founder, Georgios Vlachos. Georgios was at MIT under Silvio Micali too. And before that, he was the first Greek to ever win gold at the International Math Olympiad back in 2011. He spent 2 years at Algorand designing the consensus protocol that shipped to mainnet. So in June 2020, both of them left Algorand to start Axelar. And right from the start, this was never a typical bridge startup. This was academic cryptography deciding to go fix crypto's plumbing. Okay, so what did they actually build? Here's the simplest way I can put it. Most cross-chain bridges are like proprietary cables, right? One bridge moves tokens between Ethereum and Arbitrum, a different bridge between Ethereum and Solana. Every pair of chains needs its own custom bridge. Axelar built the USB-C of blockchains. One network in the middle, 80 chains plug into it. Every chain talks to every other chain through one socket. The technical name is General Message Passing, GMP for short. And it's not just moving tokens. It moves arbitrary smart contract calls. So a developer on Ethereum can trigger a contract on XRPL or on Stellar in one transaction, and the user doesn't even need to know the cross-chain step happened. Underneath it, Axelar runs a Cosmos SDK proof-of-stake chain with around 75 validators signing every message. Now here's the security piece. Back in August 2022, they shipped quadratic voting through the Mave upgrade. So validator influence scales with the square root of stake, which means a whale can't buy his way to consensus capture. Then, in late 2024, they launched the Mobius development stack. 3 layers, the interchain amplifier for connecting new chains, the interchain token service for shipping one token across all 80, and the Axelar virtual machine for programmable cross-chain logic. And in February 2025, they shipped the Cobalt upgrade. Inflation went from around 11% down to under 5%. The validators agreed to burn around 98% of every gas fee. So when usage goes up, Axel supply actually shrinks. Here's how the funding actually played out. November 2020, they closed a small seed round, $3.5 million. The names on that round? DCVC, Binance X, and Naval Ravikant. July 2021, Series A, $25 million, led by Polychain Capital. Then, February 15th, 2022, This is when it got serious. Series B, $35 million, co-led by Polychain and Dragonfly, with Coinbase Ventures, Galaxy Digital, North Island Ventures, Polygon, and Lemniscap also writing checks. Valuation, $1 billion, right? Unicorn status. And remember, this was 4 months before the network even hit mainnet. The investors weren't betting on a working product. They were betting on the team. Then, in March 2022, they ran a public sale on CoinList, $50 million more. Now jump forward 3 years. March 2025, a $30 million private token sale. And look at this list. Nomura's Laser Digital, Galaxy, Coinbase Ventures, Polychain, Dragonfly, Arrington, Electric Capital. So the same names kept coming back, 4 rounds over 5 years. But the Nomura piece is the tell. Nomura is a Japanese megabank, and their digital asset arm doesn't write checks until a compliance review passes. And the compliance review passed. Then, March 2024, Axel hit Binance Spot. Broad retail liquidity arrived. So look, this isn't VC tourist money. It's conviction capital, repeating itself round after round. Now, I want to be honest with you about why their architecture choices matter so much. Because between 2022 and 2025, the cross-chain bridge space took a beating. Roughly $2.8 billion drained from bridges in those years. Ronin lost $600 million. Wormhole, $320 million. Nomad, around $190. And Vitalik Buterin actually wrote a thread saying the multi-chain future couldn't be cross-chain. He was talking about fundamental security limits of bridges. And honestly, he was right about the bridges that existed at the time. Most of them were multi-sig setups, a handful of keys controlling hundreds of millions in locked assets. But here's what Sergey and Georgios did differently from day one. They didn't build a multi-sig. They built a decentralized proof-of-stake validator network, around 75 independent validators. They added quadratic voting so no single whale could capture consensus. They built it on Cosmos SDK, so cross-chain messages get verified with light client proofs. And they put up a $500,000 bounty on Immunify for critical vulnerabilities, one of the larger programs in Web3. And here's the result. To this day, Axelar has 0 successful exploits. There was one publicly disclosed close call in 2025, a missing voting quorum check, but the team caught it and patched it before it ever reached production, and they disclosed it openly. So look, Vitalik's critique was the right warning for the multi-sig era. Axelar's response was just to go build the kind of network that critique can't reach the same way. Okay, so all this academic rigor and engineering discipline, it started attracting institutions. And in 2025, the institutional layer arrived in waves. Right? March 5th, Brian Brooks joined the Axelar Foundation's Institutional Advisory Board. He's the former acting US Comptroller of the currency. He was Coinbase's chief legal officer before that. And his public take on why he joined, I want to read it to you. He said, all legacy payments have a common base layer, the Fed. For stablecoins to win, L1s need to be unified through interoperability. Axelar has built the best tech, and I'm excited to help. That's the whole thesis in one tweet. Then in May 2025, Interop Labs filed written input with the SEC's Crypto Task Force. June 4th, they met the task force in person. They told the regulators that decentralized, non-custodial interoperability protocols distribute responsibility across a network of validators and remove discretionary control. That's a regulator-facing argument no other bridge has made publicly. Then in June, Deutsche Bank's Project DAMA 2 went public. Axelar provides the cross-chain managed token issuance layer alongside ZK Sync's ZK chain. Boon Hyung Chan from Deutsche Bank on the record. That's the most institutionally significant adoption mainstream creators completely missed. Microsoft Azure Marketplace happened back in 2023, where Axelar was the first cross-chain protocol to land. And Crypto.com institutional custody arrived September 2025. The full institutional treasury stack is in place. And then the headline, December 15th, 2025. Circle, the issuer of USDC, signed an agreement to acquire Interop Labs. The team and the IP go to Circle. And here's what really matters. The Axelar Foundation, the AXL token, the network itself, all of it remains independent and community governed. Sergey on the deal said, "Together we will lay the groundwork for the next era of cross-chain finance." And taking over the developer community lead is Common Prefix. They're an academic research firm. PhDs trained under Aggelos Kiais at the University of Edinburgh. So Axelar is now stewarded by a dedicated cryptography institute. Very few protocols in this space can say that. So when you put all of it together, the cryptographers' bet wasn't speculative. 2 MIT alumni left Algorand in 2020, raised a unicorn round before mainnet ever shipped, built the architecture that answered cross-chain's biggest critique, attracted a former US Comptroller, met the SEC, integrated with Deutsche Bank, and now they're structurally adjacent to USDC. 80 connected blockchains, around 75 validators, 0 exploits, a deflationary token, and an academic stewardship layer steering the next phase. I mean, look, that's not a bridge protocol anymore. That's the institutional interoperability layer for the next era of crypto. And for an audience that watches institutional crypto rails, yeah, you should know exactly what Axelar is and where it's going. If this was useful, hit like, subscribe to Information in Motion, and follow me on X at IINMotion. Drop a comment with the institutional partnership you think Axelar should land next. I read every one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next breakdown.